Traya, I hardly even know ya. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of ZETAS Prevails. We haven't done a Faction Essentials video for months, guys, and I want to do the one for SITH Triumvirate today. It's exciting times that they have, a new character-ish, new-ish character, which is Darth Talon, which we'll talk about a little bit. She doesn't play a huge role in that faction. In fact, I think she's just going to end up with Sith Empire, but we're going to talk about this team, and in the video description you'll find links to other Faction Essential videos, some of them which need a little bit of an update, but they've still got the same principles. The idea here isn't to teach you guys the really cutting-edge, top-tier ways to use this team. It's to show people how to build their team, how to mod, how the interactions, how the different mechanics and interactions work together, so that you can destroy your enemies with them. This is an awesome team to help you be able to get a word in edgewise. It's not a fast team, and in this day and age of 400 plus speed, like some teams are like up to 1,000 speed now sometimes with all the datacron nonsense, and Traya squads at their finest just don't care. They're like, all right, we're gonna step into this fight. Yes, you get your first turns. You're gonna hurt yourself anyways if you go first. Okay, so I've weathered the barrage, and now it's time for you guys to die. It's a control team, and it's one of my favorite teams out there. It's not super efficient banners-wise, but it does do a lot of cool stuff. So, without further ado, folks, we're gonna talk about the mechanics, then we're gonna talk about the mods, then we're gonna show practical examples, and then some teams that you're gonna see her on. So, let's do it, guys. Let's do it to it, shall we? Whoa, we're in the game. Madness. Why does she only have one hand? That's a question my 4-year-old always asks. Why does she only have one hand? And then he asks, how does she have 3 lightsabers? He's always so excited about this, guys. Though he understandably likes Grievous even more because he has 4 lightsabers. But, alright, so of the Sith Triumvirate, she's the leader. She's the lead. Like I said, she controls things. She does a lot of stuff, guys. There's a ton of stuff that she does. In fact, you want both of her ZETAs. Those are the 2 most important ZETAs in her group, and it's an important thing, guys. So, her basic can daze people. It also inflicts debuffs on people if there's debuffs on your own team. Saber Storm does 3 different hits depending on different variables. You guys can check it out if you would like. I can't go over everything. I already did one take of this, and it was like, oh my gosh, I spent like 15 minutes talking about Traya. We can't do that, guys. She's important, but at the end of the day, she doesn't do that much. Not 15 minutes worth just on her own. So here's the thing. Isolate is probably her very best ability, and the way her isolate works, you can read it. What it does, you put it on an enemy, and essentially they can't gain buffs, they can't give buffs, they can still attack, they can still do a few things, but for the most part they can't interact with their friends. It's just like she grounds them. She puts them in timeout, and it's permanent until she decides to isolate someone else. It's a really cool ability. The other thing that's nice about it is it increases their cooldowns by 1, so that means the next attack is going to have to be a basic, and it also decreases a cooldown on one of your own friends, which doesn't have to be Sith or anything. It's just kind of nice. So, otherwise, Isolate has different rules for raid bosses, but the Isolate is a very important part of what her kit is. Now, as the leader, she does a couple things. First off, she buffs her friends. She gives extra crit avoid and potency to her friends. She also does a lot of other stuff. So, she debuffs people from helping each other, is essentially what happens. If they assist, if they counter, if they attack out of turn, she just immediately does damage, but to 35% of their max health, which is super nice. Even if they're protection heavy, that adds up. 35% of max health is nice. They can't die from this, but you can get them to kind of the to the edge of the cliff and then just kind of boop and watch them scream, die falling. Gosh, that's dark. But otherwise, also if they gain buffs, they also lose offense, which is pretty nice. The other nice thing about her, guys, I mean, there's a few things. So first off, she has stacking offense whenever Nihilus and Scion are critically hit or inflicted with a debuff, then she gains stacking offense for 2 turns, which means against certain teams, she just one-shots people. It's pretty fancy. Otherwise, the other nice thing, guys, and this is a Zeta, you need to get this. It makes her one of the best plug-and-play characters. Also, her lead does make her that as well. She is one of the best plug-and-play out there. But we're not going to talk about that aspect of her. The thing about her is she also gains a bunch of turn meter. Well, she doesn't gain a bunch of turn meter. She also dispels debuffs on her allies. And what happens is she dispels them as they take turns. So your whole team could be stunned, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to take a turn. But as your characters continue to take turns, at the start of their turn, they just dispel it on themselves. Like, she dispels it, because it goes away if she dies. But otherwise, if they get debuffed, and you're like, oh, I can't use them, but then when they take a turn, it just goes away. It does a little small amount of damage, but otherwise, this is a really nice ability, guys. It's so nice. Like, I can't, your entire team is self-cleansing as they take turns. So if you inflict a debuff on them and they don't take a turn, you keep pushing their turn meter back, then that's unfortunate. She doesn't cleanse them. But once that character does take a turn, instead of just sitting in timeout and stun, they just take another turn. So, that's one of her very best abilities. So she does a little bit of damage, but mostly she is control to her core. Darth Scion is the tank of the squad, and he has a debuff called Pain. Every attack that he does can inflict pain, and if someone has pain on them, then they have to attack him. He gains taunt during their turn. So, I mean, I guess if they can ignore taunt, then even though they have pain, they can ignore his taunt. But the thing is, when that happens, the Lord of Pain, whenever an enemy has pain and they're attacking, he gains extra defense and tenacity against them, which the tenacity works at cross purposes with some of the things that Nihilus and Traya do. But it's kind of fun to see, like, the Sith kind of a little bit disagree and like maneuver for like the tenacity doesn't do him many favors in some levels, but otherwise that's the only way he taunts. You don't push a button and he taunts, so you want a little bit of potency on him as well, because you need to inflict pain on characters. Otherwise he has another ability called Held by Hatred, which turns him into, I don't know, some kind of super villain. He's super buff. Look at, if you can get past his crazy, like, needs lotion immediately, like beyond the 8 of lotion kind of scarring that he's got. He is also he's just held together by hatred, guys. He is super strong. His corded, weird shaped muscles are there. The Held by Hatred though thing, guys, like, he goes into crazy mode where he gets this undispellable buff where if he gets hit or if he gets killed while he has it, as long as he's allowed to be revived, he just revives himself. And then a lot of times he reduces his cooldown of this so much that he eventually, like, you get into a loop where you kill him and then you can't kill him in time because he recovers so much health. He takes a turn and he immediately just goes into Held by Hatred again. That's happened quite a few times. I call this the win condition. If you can get his win condition, a lot of times that means that you just win the fight. Now the thing is, you want to put pain on everyone that you can, because there's 2 ways for Held by Hatred, which is 15 cooldown, to be reduced. That cooldown is reduced 2 different ways, like I say. So first off, when allied Darth Traya or Nihilus is critically hit, then reduce the held by hatred. So the critical hit thing, guys, Traya doesn't want to be hit. She's very rarely critically hit. In fact, she's like, my Traya has somewhere in the 90s of crit avoid. So she doesn't get, but when she does, against some characters, then Darth Nihilus's thing goes away. The other way it goes, the held by hatred cooldown, the win condition cooldown goes down, is by inflicting pain. Every time you inflict pain on someone, then the held by hatred goes down. And I think that's his Zeta, and that is a necessary Zeta to put down. So he's got the AoE that dispels everyone and adds pain to everyone, which is pretty nice. It can't be avoided. Break will. This is something that I was under the wrong impression here, guys. So his protection. If he does this attack on someone who has pain, it does extra damage if they have pain. And in addition, if it happens, then he just recovers a flat 35% protection. For some reason, I always thought that protection regen was based on how much damage he did. I thought it was like a protection steal kind of mechanic, but instead, he just does it and he gains 35% protection. That's good to know. That's something I hadn't actually processed. So, Dark Rage, he just inflicts pain. This inflicts pain on everyone who's hit by it. This also, it also inflicts pain on people, which is pretty nice. It also heals himself. And that's it, guys. You want pain on everyone if you can. And if you're not trying to do that, that just means you're not paying attention. Nihilus is the guy who's, in a way, he's the win condition. And a lot of AIs are designed to just target him and kill him because he's so important. So he's got control aspects. So everyone's got a dispel on this team. Traya has her isolate. Sion has his AoE dispel, which is probably the more powerful of them, but Nihilus also has a dispel on basic, which is really nice. It also decreases your cooldowns for force drain. Force drain just says if it can hit a character, then it has a 50% to proc, like 50% for him to increase their cooldowns by 1, and in turn reduce his own cooldowns by 1 for each time it connects with someone. The force drain is an AoE, so in 5v5 you get it faster, but this is Annihilate. This is the reason people are dumb and say Rexilate all the time. It's quite fascinating, folks. The people think that that's what they need to say about Rexecute, but here's the thing. Annihilate takes 8, but eventually, like, you don't have to really keep pushing. Like, you don't have to take 8 turns because that force drain. Every time you do a force drain and someone is debuffed, then assuming that you can hit them, assuming that they don't have foresight or something, then you gain, you reduce your Annihilate cooldown. So there's all this stuff, guys. At the end of the day, he's just there to survive and survive and survive and eventually eat the whole world, which is what his thing is. He ate a whole world with the Force. It is a totally preposterous thing, but I don't know. He does also, you can't see his mask. You can't see beyond his mask. It's pretty creepy. Maybe he's, maybe he's someone. Maybe he's someone, guys. There's some analysis for you. Good job, ZETAS. Maybe he's someone. The video games back when he was made, though, guys, they were pretty over the top. So the other thing that you just want to keep in mind here, folks, is so he's going to be inflicting damage over time on people randomly, and if this is where his Zeta is, if you put his Zeta on, what it does is at the start of their turn, it inflicts health down on them for 2 turns, which health down is nice, but at the end of the day, you don't need it. You don't need that Zeta. That's one that you could do. It's optional, though, I guess. Otherwise, so the other thing to keep in mind here, so when Sion or Traya are inflicted with a debuff, so remember, Sion's like, hey, I have all this extra tenacity, and Nihilus is like, dude, I need you to be debuffed, because what happens is Nihilus gains 10% turn meter for every time they're debuffed, and plus 30% max health stacking, which is a crazy thing. It is preposterous. You can get against certain squads, like if you're facing like a Lord Vader squad, who's inflicting like 6 debuffs on every character, every turn, kind of weirdness. His health pool just goes totally bonkers. He gets well over 1 million. It is a sight to behold. So, yeah, you just want to keep him alive as long as you can. And eventually he'll annihilate someone, and it'll be epic. Now, Traya, the reason you want Traya... so this is the trio. This is the trio that you want. Here's the thing. With her lead, she gets plus critical avoid and potency for her whole team. And that's what we're going to mod for. I actually have her 2 speeds slower than Scion right now, so that Scion can dispel any debuffs, so that she can get isolate on someone right away. That's how I have her modded right now. I have her with speed, and otherwise, I want crit avoid. It's on her mastery as crit avoid, and so just keep in mind, her leadership gives her another 40% crit avoidance, and she's already, with her mastery included and this arrow, she's already at 48. She gets another 40, so she's at 88.5% crit avoid, which is really nice, because the team just wants to survive. You're stepping into a fight where you're like, I'm not as fast as you, but I'll be okay. That's the important thing. So, health. For her, all health. Every single bit, you want her to be healthy. And then you want her to be a little bit fast. Mine's not super fast, but it's fast enough. 276. Alright, Scion is the tank. And here's the thing about Scion, guys, is he regenerates his protection. And so, it's not a necessarily bad thing for him to have protection. I kind of have a mix and matched. I have protection and I have health. Either one is probably fine, and then you want some defense set if you can. Remember, this whole squad is trying to be really tanky and resilient, so an early first target for a 6E mod would be on their defense sets. So you can see I'm just a little bit faster on him than on Traya, so that he can dispel debuffs with his AoE, so that she can get annihilate or isolate off, which is nice. And stuff. Alright, Nihilus is more of the same, guys. He just wants more health, and he wants to be a little bit fast. But otherwise, he's just kind of hiding. He's just like, please don't hurt me, please don't. Oh, I killed you. I killed Hananana. He's that annoying kid who like hides behind his parent, and then when a kid tries to mess with them, like he like tells his parent, he's like, hey, help me, and the kid is just messing with him because he's been throwing things at him the whole time, like just hiding behind his parents. It's obnoxious as hell. You need to knock it off. Knock it off. One thing I want to show you guys as well, guys. Okay, so let's get back to Nihilus. Annihilate. Don't be a cheap bastard here. Do not be a cheap bastard. Put your Omega on. It's just an Omega. It's not a Zeta. I've had so many conversations where people are like, dude, I annihilated them and they came back. How did they do that? And I'm like, it's a frickin' Omega. Go apply your stupid Omega. Don't be a cheap bastard, folks. Don't be a cheap bastard. Don't be a cheap bastard. So, one thing I will point out before we jump into the actual video footage, guys, is you want relics on this team. You want higher relics. This team is so resilient that it seems like Gear 12 is enough. I've been there. And then you're like, oh, well, Relic 1 is enough. Maybe Relic 3 for the new Datacron stuff. But otherwise, you don't need 7. This team does so much better. The higher relics you have, I mean, obviously, but this team really, really responds to higher relic levels and investment. Just pointing it out. So, let's go to the video footage, shall we, folks? Let's do it. Okay, the first one, this is kind of the one that everyone's like, oh, this is the only good thing that Scion, or that Traya can do. So, remember, her leadership, if they're acting outside of their turn, they're dealing damage to themselves. Geos call themselves to assist a lot, and B1 also assists Separatists when they go. So, let me make sure that the noise isn't on for this. Alright, let's go. This team is almost custom built to fight against Traya. So, watch how when they take turns, you see we haven't taken a turn yet, but look at that protection value on all the Geos because they keep assisting. Look at those stacks on B1 because he keeps assisting. Traya's doing passive damage, even though we haven't taken a turn. Okay, Scion goes. He's able to put some debuffs, some pain on them. That's what the little skull thing is. Nihilus does his Force Drain. We get Isolate onto the Brute, so we can't taunt anymore. He also isn't gonna help call when they call to assist. He doesn't help them because he's isolated. He doesn't realize. Traya almost got him here, but the Nihilus attack is not going to do anything. He's not going to kill the Brood Alpha or anything. So we're just moving through. Remember, these are Relic 8 and Relic 7 and 8 characters against my Traya squad. So let's just do it, guys. Okay, another Force Drain. Wonderful. And you can see they keep helping each other to assist, except for the Brute, who is isolated. And now we're just waiting. Okay, who do we target? The Brute Alpha is the one with the link thing. So with the linked in. So we gotta do this. Okay, Held by Hatred with Scion. I guess so. I'm trying to play with my food. I'm trying to get it so that he can do he can do his big hit on someone with pain before the fight went over, but it wasn't gonna happen. So took him out, and that's that. Okay, let's move to the next fight here, folks, shall we? There's also a 3v3. We'll go to 5v5 in just a minute. But, okay, so this is how you take down a Padme team. You want to get Isolate on Padme as quickly as possible. Now, this is with a Stuncron Ayla, so instead of, like, Anakin, who's the damage dealer, it's Ayla who kind of to just dance around here. So, hold on, I pushed the wrong button. There we go. Alright, so the idea is we don't, we're playing to our strengths as well, because if these guys stun us, then we're fine, because Traya just dispels. I guess Thrawn in this case isn't going to go, is going to go first, and he's not a Sith, so if they stun him, he's just kind of sorry, out of luck. But, so this is one of their friends, folks. We're not even using Scion this time. Thrawn is pretty good because he can go fast enough a lot of times to go first. He hands the turn to Traya, and then she puts Isolate on Padme. And then Padme is like, well, guys, I want to give you stacks of courage and stuff. And they're like, no, man, like, you're isolated. Like, who cares? Like, screw you. So, we're just biding our time here, guys. Biding our time. We can do an Annihilate on someone, so I decided to take out Ayla. She's the one who can get, like, unlimited turns, just because of her stun cron. Taking out that damage dealer is nice, because Padme and General Kenobi don't do damage, really. Like, obviously they can, but the courage mechanic is already stopping. It's not happening because Padme can't, she's isolated, she can't give out those buffs, which is really nice for us. So, we're just biding our time, trying to get healed up by Thrawn, get our protection healed, and, yeah. That's it, guys. So, we slowly get through this. You don't need to watch the whole thing, I'm sorry to say. Not something you need to do. Let's go to the next show, shall we? Which is in 5v5, folks. Pretty exciting stuff. So this is a low gear dash squad, which means it's low enough gear and low DPS enough. Like, they don't have any characters that do a ton of damage, at least not immediately, other than dash and maybe nest a little bit. Otherwise, we've got to they're not high enough relics that they really threaten us. So I'm taking a Sith trio and just taking the 3 of them up against this dash team. And see, we're taking hits, but then when Nihilus goes, you can see everyone else on the squad has a bunch of debuffs on them. Nihilus has none because he used Traya's unique to be able to cleanse himself. He did a little bit of damage to himself as well, but for cleansing that, but that's to be expected, and that's acceptable. So you can get the Isolate on the tank, and then a lot of times I will put the cooldown reduction onto Scion so that he gets his Held by Hatred even faster, because that win condition is pretty important. Let's see, do we have... It looks like we have Held by Hatred available. Maybe I'm just taking crazy pills, though. So, like, we haven't done substantial damage to anyone yet. And they keep hurting us. It's not really okay. 3v3 is a little bit... using the 3-man squad is always a little bit scary. But, we've got our win condition now. We do our AoE, get rid of all of those debuffs. And then Nihilus, who's been stunned this whole time, comes out of stun, force drains everyone. And, there goes Karth, or whatever his name is, Dash, which is fancy of us. And otherwise, yeah, just keep going, guys, keep going. Keep going. Get our Annihilate on the other tank. And, I mean, that's basically it, folks. I mean, eventually we'll get another Annihilate. We can use it on Nest. Nest is a great target for Traya. A lot of people like to use teams that Nest appears in because they don't understand the Nest mechanics and how to kill her. So, you know, or she's just annoying. I liked her in the Winter Soldier show, though. She was pretty cool there. Nest, the actress for Nest. So we can do Held by Hatred again, just to reduce our cooldowns again. And, yeah, I mean, these fights take a while, guys, because Sith Triumvirate's just ready to wade on in. Alright, try to get a stun on Nest. Didn't work. Or, sorry, a daze on Nest. Didn't work. But we've got Annihilate, so we can take her out. And then L3, I assure you, is defeated. Finally, folks, we have a full 5-man squad here against a really high-end Dash team. This is Relic 8 Dash, has the Omicron. So here we go. So we've got Barris here, and we've got Sith Empire Trooper. Thrawn would not have been fast enough against this squad anyways, even if he was an option at the time. Held by Hatred dispels everything. And old Barris dies. She's one of the friends of this team, and she died. So that's too bad. But, alright, we'll get Isolate onto L3 so that she can't taunt anymore. We can have open season to Vander Chewie, who is just going to revive everyone if we kill them anyways. So, take out Vander Chewie. And then, we got our win condition move. And, just keep going, guys. Just keep going. I mean, Sith Empire Trooper, he's doing good work. Let's take out Nest. Come on, take out Nest. Kill Nest. I'm debating whether I should kill Nest or Dash here, and I eventually killed Dash just because tactical considerations are, you know, if we can't clear this, if we somehow fail, at least we have taken out their leader, and it's a lot easier to, you know, win in that case. if you need to clean it up. So, otherwise, hitting Scion. Note that he doesn't have taunt on his own turn or any of my turns, but the second one of their characters takes a turn, he will have taunt. Watch. See, he's got taunt. It's pretty fun. Alright. And that is, I believe, it, folks. Dash is a tricky guy, man. He does so much damage. But Traya does a good job of countering it. Increase those cooldowns. And eventually trace her down. Track her down. Let's go back to the game, shall we? Whoa, we're back with one hand. Madness. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna say that I want to look at here, guys, is the list of friends that she would really like to have on her team sometimes. So Barris is great because Traya tends to have a really high health pool because they can't regenerate protection, so they may as well have a lot of health. Barris helps with that. If they get crit, they heal themselves. Though remember, we're going crit avoid on both Traya and Scion. So the crit part isn't helping as much, but we always appreciate Barris Ophi's help. Darth Talon goes with them sometimes. Like, if you put our Omicron on, then it has to go with them. But the Omicron's underwhelming, and Cat, I think, I think that for the most part, we're just going to do without Traya, or do without Talon. Though Talon is nice, because if you care about such things, she does something for everyone. So, she gives everyone, all of the Sith, everyone gets extra health and offense and speed. So Darth Talon's really nice, but then her Omicron is requiring more stuff. So she's a great addition. She's not absolutely necessary though. Sith Empire Trooper, gosh, I need to put that 6E mod back on him, but he's a Sith and he loves getting all that extra crit avoid and other stats. It's nice. If you don't have a Sith Trooper to help you, I guess you could use Shore Trooper. He's an okay fill-in, I guess. I mean, having a pre-taunt is always nice, guys. Finally, you can see these teams. I mean, people put Darth Maul lead just to be able to, mix things up just a little bit, and it's not nearly as effective as Traya lead, but, what's a man to do? And then finally, you can put the Sith Triumvirate with Sith Eternal. And that seems to work pretty nicely. Remember, though, when Sith Eternal... So, you don't want Sith Eternal to get Wampa soloed. That's the main thing. You don't want to get... He doesn't want to get et by the Wampa, so he needs some kind of apparatus to help him avoid, help him avoid that fate. And Darth Nihilus with his Annihilate is a great way to do that. Otherwise, keep in mind, though, folks, Darth Scion has us held by hatred. When he dies, though, Sith Emperor is like, you know what? You can't revive. That's not allowed. Not allowed, bud. Sorry. Rules is rules. And, Scion's not happy. But one way or another, he's held by hatred, guys. Of course, he's not happy. But that's just some random teams that, you might see Traya in. That being said, I'm pretty wiped out, so I'm going to let you guys go. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, especially being sleepy during the video, ZETAS prevails.